The Indian Army has avenged the Pahalgam terror attack. The elite para-special forces tracked, cornered and then eliminated all three Pahalgam attack masterminds in a daring operation on the outskirts of Srinagar. And you know what? A Chinese-made satellite phone gave away the location of these terror culprits hiding deep inside the forests of Kashmir. According to reports, Indian agencies detected and tracked the signal of this Huawei satellite phone used by extremists just 2 days ago, which signaled the start of the final leg of this manhunt that had been ongoing for the last 3 months and more. The Indian Army's Rashtriya Rifles soon cordoned off the region. Then, along with the para-SF troops, conducted Operation Mahadev on the morning of the 28th of July. So it was a combination of human intelligence and tech breakthrough. Finally, 3 Pakistani infiltrators were completely caught off guard. All 3, each of them had suffered clear headshot wounds and were pictured lying huddled close together. This shows they did not have any time to react when the Indian Army began its final assault. This operation is a testament to the superior training of Indian troops. It was a perfect ambush coupled with speed and stealth. Indian snipers showed excellent marksmanship to hit bullseye in such treacherous terrain and conditions. Indian troops also kept their nerves during the short but intense gunfight and suffered no losses at all. It just shows that these terror masterminds are only good enough to kill innocent, unarmed civilians, and they are no match to the Indian soldiers in direct combat. But the biggest takeaway is that this operation establishes clear Pakistani military links to the Pahalgam massacre. Now, one of those neutralized is Hashim Musa, also known as Suleiman. Remember, Suleiman was a former commando of Pakistan Army's elite unit, the Special Services Group or the SSG, and later joined UN-designated terror group Hafiz Saeed's Lashkar, possibly after getting go-ahead from his superiors. This shows how Pakistani military is deeply interconnected with such global terror networks.
ए श्रेणी का लश्कर तोयबा का कमांडर था पहलगाम हमले में.
Musa was found hiding like rats with 2 other Pakistanis under a small tent in the Dachigam region of Srinagar near Mount Mahadev. This man was the mastermind of the Pahalgam attack in which 26 innocent Hindu tourists were killed after they were identified based on their religion. Now the Indian Army has sent him to hell. Let's take a closer look at how India avenged the Pahalgam terror attack. The joint counter-terror action was led by the Indian Army and the Jammu and Kashmir Police, codenamed Operation Mahadev, was carried out in the rugged Libwas area close to the Dachigam National Park. Srinagar-based Chinar Corps of the Indian Army confirmed in a post on X that 3 of these terror heads had been neutralized in an intense firefight. The slain infiltrators have been identified as Musa, Yasir and Hamza, confirmed by sources as all of them being Pakistani nationals and members of the banned terror group Lashkar or the LET. So how did the Indian Army track them down? A joint team of the 24 Rashtriya Rifles and 4 Para-SF unit detected suspicious activity. Sources told NDTV that the Indian forces had stepped up rigorous physical and electronic surveillance after they received a key piece of intel in early July. After the human intel, drones were then used to survey every inch of the rugged and forested terrain. The Indian forces then zeroed in on the Dachigam forest on the foothills of Mount Mahadev, known for its treacherous terrain, and this area is completely uninhabited. Some reports suggest Indian troops tracked Lashkar terror group for 14 days and closed the loop, blocking all escape routes before executing the mission. The final proof was when Indian intel agencies picked up signals of a Chinese ultra-radio communication device being active in this forest. Now, Indian agencies had been tracking this device since the Pahalgam attack. However, till now, this terror group had maintained electronic communication blackout. But they finally slipped up when they sensed Indian military closing in. A senior defense official was quoted in the Deccan Herald saying, quote, Even the most disciplined blackout can slip under pressure. One call was all it took, unquote. According to reports, M4 carbine and AK-47 rifles, along with 17 rifle grenades and other arms and ammunition, were recovered after this encounter. The meticulously planned operation is being considered a huge breakthrough, as security forces suspect the same terror cell was planning another big action in Jammu and Kashmir. Now, the success of Operation Mahadev came to light on the same day. The Indian Defence Minister Rajnath Singh emphasized in the Lok Sabha that the overall politico-military objective of Operation Sindoor was to punish Pakistan for fighting a proxy war in the form of state-sponsored terror against India. Rajnath Singh announced, quote, "The objective of Operation Sindoor was not to cross the border or to capture the territory. It was to eliminate terror nurseries which Pakistan had nurtured for years, and to provide justice to the innocent families who lost their loved ones in cross-border attacks," unquote. Now, earlier, the Modi government had directed the Indian military to launch Operation Sindoor, striking deep inside Pakistan. Indian Air Force and the Indian Army first destroyed 9 terror bases across 9 different Pakistani cities in what was a huge security embarrassment for the Pakistani military. One of these terror bases, Bahawalpur, was located over 120 kilometers deep inside Pakistani territory. This was a total failure of Pakistani air defenses against a superior Indian military operation. Wing Commander Vyomika Singh revealed, quote, "The Indian military carried out precision strikes on terror targets in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir using niche technology weapons with careful selection of warheads that ensured no collateral damage," unquote. The targets were neutralized with clinical efficiency and highlighted the professionalism of Indian armed forces in planning and then execution of such complex operations. India's military strikes resulted in elimination of over 100 members of banned terror groups, Jaish and Lashkar.
सैन्य कार्रवाई में एक अनुमान के अनुसार 100 से अधिक आतंकवादी लश्कर-ए-तोयबा और हिजबुल मुजाहिदीन जैसे आतंकवादी संगठनों से संबंधित थे.
3 days later, Indian Air Force again beat Chinese-origin HQ-9 air defenses as India became the first country to destroy nearly 10 air bases of a nuclear-armed enemy. Numerous Pakistani fighter jets and military aircraft were destroyed in the air and inside hangars, as confirmed by satellite images by international agencies. High-impact air operations, which included the first operational use of BrahMos missile, India's crown jewel, struck the Noor Khan Air Base. A move meant to break Pakistan's posturing as a nuclear power. Other Pakistani bases, including Rafiki, Murid, Rahim Yar Khan, Skardu, Bulari, Jacobabad, as well as Sargodha, all suffered extensive damage. In fact, visuals taken by Pakistani civilians of Indian missile strikes spread like wildfire on social media. After being toyed around on the battlefield, all Pakistan could do was spread fake propaganda on hitting multiple Indian fighter jets or hitting the S-400. But most of these claims are simply laughable, as they lack any evidence and have been debunked by international experts. But I'm sure Pakistani trolls will still comment on this video as they refuse to live in reality. In fact, Indian National Security Advisor Ajit Doval challenged Pakistanis and biased Western media to show even one image of any damage suffered by Indian military during this entire 4-day war. Even Pakistani leaders themselves admit they have no proof.
International investigation and some, agreed upon delegation.
Eventually, Pakistan had to call the US and India to request an unconditional ceasefire. Now, what more proof of Indian military superiority than the fact that Pakistan requested a ceasefire even though the Indus Water Treaty remains in abeyance? If Pakistan military was capable to compete on the battlefield, then they would not have abandoned their demand for IWT restoration. But the IWT remains in abeyance even today, which proves that Islamabad surrendered its own demands. The Modi government has made it clear, acts of terror by any Pakistan-based group will be considered an act of war and will invite an overwhelming response from Indian armed forces.
कोई भी न्यूक्लियर ब्लैकमेल भारत नहीं सहेगा.
The Pahalgam attack, the region's worst assault on civilians in years, was carried out by TRF, an offshoot of the Pakistan-based Lashkar, which accepted responsibility for this attack. Now, US Secretary of State Marco Rubio revealed that Washington has named TRF as a specially designated global terror group. Rubio added, "This action demonstrates the Trump administration's commitment to protecting our national security interests, countering terror, and enforcing President Trump's call for justice for the Pahalgam attack." Unquote. The move also makes it illegal for an American individual or institution to facilitate or provide support to this group, with the aim of isolating and financially weakening that organization. India has long maintained that Pakistan is the global factory of terror and a safe haven for international terror groups. However, Islamabad always tries to deflect the blame back to India. Now, this is a list of global designated terror groups. Kindly note, not even one is Indian or Hindu. However, if you look at their names, all of these terror groups have one big thing in common. It's pretty obvious, I'm sure you figured it out. All of these follow the same cult ideology of hate and evil. Osama was found by US troops hiding next to Pakistan military establishment. Today, the president of the same United States is repeatedly claiming credit for shielding Pakistan from India's counter-terror operations. 3 of the 4 London tube bombing attackers had visited Pakistan and lived there, possibly to plan the attack and recruit more extremists. In the mid-2000s, a French judge, Jean-Louis Bruguière, observed, quote, "Lashkar is not just a tool of the Pakistan intelligence agency, the ISI, but an ally of AQ that participates in global jihad. Today, Pakistan is at the heart of the terror threat, and it may be too late to do anything about it." Unquote. The world knows that Pakistan is a failed state controlled by its military, which uses terror as a policy to further its own geopolitical goals. With Operation Sindoor airstrikes and now Operation Mahadev, India has sent a loud and clear warning. There will be no mercy next time. But what do you believe? Will Pakistan ever give up its policy of state-sponsored terror? Leave a comment with your opinion, hit the like button, and subscribe to Inconnect News.